Hello and welcome. Today's guest is a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, humanitarian, and philanthropist. She is the founder and CEO of Ariel Group, a Tennessee based social enterprise company with entities spanning hospitality, real estate development, media production, training and education, humanitarian aid, disaster relief, and nation development. She is the host of Broke to Woke and a sought after speaker who is regularly interviewed in publications and on podcasts and television shows globally. Committed to elevating people and places, she is the true embodiment of a force for good. Please welcome Britnie Faith Turner to the show. Welcome, Britnie. It is so great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me, Ellie. It's so good to see your face again. You're such an amazing and important person in my life. You've been such a blessing in my world that I'm so excited to be on your show and talking to your listeners.
Thank you for being here. I know you're exceptionally busy. You are in the middle of an incredible retreat with some veterans right now. So thank you so much for carving out this time with us today. Now, we covered in the introduction, you are certainly involved in a broad range of industries, to say the least. Your companies span it all. So, what made you go into social impact, innovation, and entrepreneurship? What was that catalyst for you?
So the catalyst for me, I wanted to be a missionary since I was 12 years old. Why did I want to be a missionary? It's because I saw people suffering and I wanted to do something about it. I believe that when we see things that we don't like or that make us really angry, for example, suffering, wrongdoing, abuse, whatever, you have three options. And option number one is to just talk crap online, which is hardly effective. And sometimes it works. Number two is we can ostrich. We can just bury our head in the sand and say that nothing's happening. Or number three, we can raise our hand and say, use me. I want to do something about this. And I commit to it being part of my life. And so I started going on mission trips at 13 years old. And I was the worst missionary because I just kept getting more and more angry. And I thought, yeah, you're supposed to have this like amazing experience. But I was just upset because I wasn't actually fixing the problem. And so as I started to learn and grow, I realized after I really got taken to my knees with seeing and meeting a little girl that had been sexually abused from the time she was 1 year old. And when I saw and met her, and I looked at the brokenness in her eyes, and I realized that could have been my life story, that I really went all in committing to not just, it's all worthy if you do it for one person. Of course, that your whole life spent to help one person, it matters. But when I realized the scale at which people were suffering in this specific arena, I knew I'd need resources and a better education myself. I knew I'd need essentially an army of people to be able to help shift what in many areas is culturally acceptable. And so I started building my life. I was broke, grew up one of six kids. We did not have extra money. And I realized that when you don't have extra money, you can only really help yourself, maybe your family. But if you want to help anybody else, then you need an abundance. And so I started with real estate development, and instead of just doing houses to make money, I did houses to rebuild hope in areas. Now, why is that important? Because when you can give people a reason to believe in a region, they'll bring in infrastructure, opportunities, resources, and then people can pull themselves up. And that is the ripple effect of what I saw. So my developments were all very intentional. And what I'm telling you right now sounds way fancier than it looks and feels because it's very hard to overcome what people believe about a branded as bad neighborhood to be an area people want to be. And so I've been practicing with that for over 10 years. I call everything practice because we're all learning every day. And the media company was really to help reshape that story online and find what is working about something people call broken or blighted. How do I find the good and get people to notice that so that we can expand it? Because whatever you focus on expands. That's where those two companies came in. And I got into disaster relief when my property got annihilated by two back to back hurricanes. And I started seeing it was in a developing nation. I saw that if the world heard that this place was destroyed, then their main economic pillar would be destroyed, which is tourism. And how do we get people to, again, using the same skills I've been in real estate development in the southern areas of America? How do I take this overseas and get people to come back, not just online, but stronger? And so we came up with BVI Stronger. And that was the genesis of me being behind a camera, interviewing people, asking them what do they wish they knew, to what is the community doing right, and interviewing the leaders and saying, what made you step up? And it was like the entire analysis for a year of how recovery works so that we can accelerate it.
I love all of that. I love how you're really a master at using each experience and using that to build on the next. So, from those early days on the mission trip and seeing the suffering and the devastation, to then using that and looking at what many would call blighted areas or under resourced areas, and not just trying to come in and be a white horse and gentrify, but actually say, oh, how can I help this community rise from within? I
Mhm.
love that you're not about just being a handout, but really catalyzing redevelopment and reigniting conversations, reigniting hope, reigniting connection, reigniting community, and reigniting resources. And I love that you used media as a way to really amplify, right? To tell those stories, to bring attention to those areas specifically to then draw in resources, right? To then, so I think we can all learn so much just from that model alone. Now, that sounds super easy, but we know that it wasn't. We know that it is not easy to be a trailblazer. It is not easy to think outside the box and to really lead the charge. So, how were you able to navigate some of those really early challenges?
There's been challenges throughout every part of the journey. And I think it's important to label what's a real challenge and what's a challenge because I just don't know what I'm doing because I'm new at something. Learning to crawl was a challenge until we practiced crawling. And then it wasn't so hard. And then we learned to walk and all those things. So, what's a real challenge? What's not? And then you don't overanalyze it or over spiritualize it or whatever people do that typically knocks them out of the game. I like to say I'm not actually naturally a motivated person to just go do things. I don't just go do them to do them. I don't normally care. But when I have a powerful why, which happened thankfully very early on for me, I understood what I wanted to commit my life to. And I've always been a servant hearted person, a very compassionate person. And the reason I share that isn't to talk about myself, it's to say, what are the seeds that are in your heart? Because whatever you have a desire to do something about, whatever you have a desire to really move forward in life, that desire, unless it's something freaking horribly inappropriate, you know what I'm saying? But as long as it's centered in goodness, normally it's a sign for your purpose and it's something you have a grace to accomplish. And Ellie, your desires are different than mine for a reason. We're all called to play a part in something bigger than us. And you really find that life fulfillment when you're walking in your purpose, even when the days are hard. And they're, again, hard because you're new or you haven't established it or because you don't know what you're doing or because it's just a difficult thing to overcome or shift. And in my one chance on earth, my number one goal is to serve humanity. And if I keep putting more and more filters on that, how do I want to serve humanity? How do I want to be a blessing? Those are really important questions. Every single person listening to this should be asking themselves because you do have one chance on earth. So once you've got clear, again, it's never going to be a perfect picture because we learn something new every day. But once you're at least clear on the direction, then you can start backwards planning. And Jeremy calls it backwards mission planning. I'm like, yeah, figure out. It's been around military all week. You got your end state. Where are you going? What do we have to do to get there? And also, what do you have to drop?
So important. So
Well,
important. Say that again. I don't want that to get lost because so often people focus only on what do I need to do? What do I need to gain? Where do I need to go? So drop that golden nugget one more time for us.
what do you have to drop? I will give you a good example. The military guys are so freaking amazing. And once we teach them here, this is the beginning part of their Healed Heroes journey with us, which is a year long, and then they're part of the alumni forever. But this week is a reset to say, hey, a lot of them are depressed because they were handed a mission their whole life, celebrated for it. They had a curated world. They knew exactly the path to success. They were celebrating all the things. They've never learned how to create their own mission for their own life. And so when we're here, we get clarity on the long term end state. What do I really want to do in my one chance center? So we've got a new vision and then we backwards plan. Well, if this is true at the end of my life, what has to be true in the next 10 years for me to know I'm on track? What has to be true in the next 5 years, 1 year, and 90 days? And then we come up with the list of what, when you're determining what you need to drop, it's what am I holding on to that has the potential to ruin the end state? I've got this beautiful vision. I'm just going to use these guys as an example to be this specific version of the father I always wanted to be, or the husband I always wanted to be, or the leader in my community, or I want to stop sex trafficking, or I want to go on disaster missions, whatever their thing is. And then when they audit what do I have to drop? They're like, with this drinking habit, that vice has the potential to knock me out of everything that I want to be. I'm my worst self. I'm not physically functioning well. My fitness has gone down. My depression has gone up. All these things you can identify it to one thing. Now, not everything's as obvious as like an alcohol addiction. It could be a negative belief system. Making money is hard to do. Now, your beliefs that it's hard may have served you in the past and gotten you to where you are, but is that going to serve you for this next part of your journey? Or is identifying and adopting mindsets of abundance and networks that walk in abundance and all these things. One thing that kept coming up this week was not everybody, but many people were like, I've always believed rich people were bad. And I used to believe that. I really did. And so, just like when you're buying a red truck, you notice red trucks driving by every day because you see it, because you believe and you're looking for it. So whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. I want to share with you guys that right now. If you're looking for rich people are bad and evil, you will find it. But if you're finding that money is nothing but an expansion tool of the heart, then the more money you have, the more things that are on your heart that you care about can be expanded. What do we care about? We care about ending social issues. How do we end those desperation rooted issues? Really, you end desperation by creating opportunity. We need resources to create those opportunities and people run with them. I'm not throwing money at poverty. I'm throwing money at opportunity and the people who want it will run with it. Yep. Real change anyway. It's been overcoming those early obstacles for me was I got know your why. It's not cheesy, guys. If you're ever going to go on a road trip, you need to pick a freaking destination.
Yep.
And that destination's still not your identity, but it will help you know if you're on track or not. And the reason that's important is once you're past survival mode, then everything that comes your way is going to look like an opportunity. And you will use your direction as a clarifying device, which is also a filter, to be able to take in this thing that looks like an opportunity and identify, is it an opportunity for me or is it a distraction for me? And you'll be able to, like windshield wipers, go through life instead of what most people do is they drift and they look at anything coming in their life as, oh, this must be right because it sounds good. It might sound good and it might be good, but is it right for you in your one chance on earth? So the reason I'm taking this long to explain this concept is it's truly the essence of scaling. I went from living in my car and working for free to learn real estate development to Forbes' sixth fastest growing woman owned company in the world. I went from living in my car to getting this island in 7 years. First time I got it. It's like the point is that you can scale quickly if you're clear. Just like if you didn't have a map and you're just trying to figure out the roads and you kept turning wrong turns, you didn't have GPS tell you to go around the traffic, it's going to take you longer to get places. But with clarity, you can move faster because you're synergistic in every area of your life.
Yeah. And I love that the 2 points that you made about your destination is not your identity. That is so important because people get wrapped up in the title, right? I am an attorney. I am an entrepreneur, right? That's their destination. And they're embodying the destination as their identity. So I think that's a really powerful point that you made to get clear on the destination, but the destination is not the identity of who you are. That's not your essence. And I love your distinction between opportunities and distractions and having the clarity to be able to filter because so many people, we grab at whatever comes our way. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I should do that. Oh, that looks good. Oh, this looks good. And I love your point of stop and think about it. Is that an opportunity for you, or is that a distraction that is actually going to hinder you getting where you want to go? So powerful. Thank you for sharing those. So you were able to find your clarity early on the mission trip. What are a few tools that others can use to get clear on their purpose?
The best one to me is writing your eulogy. And there's going to be people listening to this that are like, I'm not doing that's morbid. Really, the only thing guaranteed in life is that we're going to die. And eventually it will be forgotten. So the nice thing about that, the comforting thing about that is it removes the social pressures to have to be anything other than what you really want to do on your earth journey. And even all that sounds, it's freaking not. I'm very practical. I own construction businesses. I'm very direct and what works. And I'm very into not reinventing the wheel. I like templating. I like saying if we as humanity have clean water anywhere, then we could have clean water everywhere for people as something we've figured out. What else has been figured out? And how do we just scale that versus coming up with new things? Which is fine. Somebody needs to come up with new things, but I'm into like spreading great technologies and ideas. So, who lives the most full and abundant lives? I've been searching my entire life for understanding why are we here? That's just Britnie Turner for you. But I looked at who's actually, I don't know about the word happy, but who's living life? Who's not getting lost in what society says is cool this week? Who's not giving into the marketing of what you're supposed to do? And the common denominator, Ellie.
Walking in their purpose.
Yeah, but how do they get there? If I could pick a people group, it would be people with terminal illness. They can't be told what to do or not do because they care about their time. They care and they make every single minute matter because they know for the first time in their life that their time is finite. Now, we should all be approaching life that way. And that doesn't mean recklessly. That doesn't mean you think everything doesn't have consequences. To the contrary, I have a freedom of knowing that no matter what, I only have this chance. So I'm going to make it count. I'm going to do what I really want to do, what I really feel called to do. And I'm going to appreciate the guidance that's around me, but I'm always going to filter it through the thing that I want to do. And so when you write your eulogy, it's a weird exercise, but somebody made me do this at 17. And that's why I had a very different 20s than anybody else I know, because I was undeniably focused and you couldn't take me off track. And I was able to go during the greatest real estate recession in history of America. I went from homeless to being a multimillionaire in a matter of 2.5 years. And it works. So when you write your eulogy, The exercise really is imagining that you get to be listening in on your funeral. What do you want them to say? Now, I want you to write it from your future state. And if you really want to one up yourself, you can write both, write your future state and what that story would be. And you can write as if you died today. And you're not wishing you died today. You're not attracting anything weird. But the difference is in the story. When you look at the difference, you come up with a to do list. It's not a bucket list, but it is if I really want people to say those kinds of things about me because that's how I affected mankind. That's how I left the impression on the people who matter the most to me. And they really knew how much I love them, then you will be more vulnerable on a day to day basis. You'll tell people how you feel. You start, again, becoming clear on what matters most to you, and then you just do those things. And so that's the most important thing. I think if I could leave this call with anything, it would be to take the time to figure out what matters most. And then everything you do rolls up into that. I don't just have 7 companies to have 7 companies. I have each one because they fulfill my purpose in a very specific and strategic way in what I want to do on the earth. I could have 40 companies and I could have 1 company. I don't care. My companies aren't even companies to me. They're vehicles to accomplish my life's purpose. Are there boring parts to each one of those? Yeah. Are there not fun parts to each one of those? Yes. It's called operations. They happen. But do they roll up into doing good for the world because I know I'm going to die and I want to do more good in specific areas? Then I don't know. It's not competition, but can I affect change because that matters to me? Yeah. And that's what's fun is like, it really does take away all the competition. It takes
Yeah.
away all the weird pressure. It takes away all the, I'm not enough. I shouldn't be doing this. No, it's not who am I to do these things? It's who am I to hide God's light? And similar to everybody that actually has the capability of listening to what we're talking about today, these veterans, the reason we do this is because I found capable, trained, skilled, amazing human beings that do really well in specific environments, knocking themselves out of the game. Screw that. What a waste. When these guys, not all of them, but specific people are literally committing suicide
Yeah.
because they don't see their value. They don't know how they can play a part in doing such great things. And if you're listening to this today, I know you're hungry for something and you have more resources than so many other people in the world. What's the beautiful, joyous, fulfilling responsibility that comes with making a way for other people who are suffering and helping to eliminate suffering? What's holy about you playing small? So it's time to shift into thinking instead of who am I to do stuff? It's really what happens if I do something. One of my most impactful quotes to me is that evil will rise when good men and women do nothing.
Yep. Yeah. I love the who am I? And I also love the who am I not, right? Who am I to not do it? And I love the idea also of what happens if I do it and what happens if I don't. Who suffers if I don't stand in my power? Who suffers if I don't live in my purpose? So I think that's a really powerful paradigm. And for people who are in the audience who are saying, oh, sure, you're really clear. Sure, you're really aligned. Sure, you're doing all these things, but I have fear. I have judgment. You don't have any of that. For people that are saying that stuff, you have undoubtedly experienced moments along your journey of doubt or the inner critic or self talk or fear or judgment. And you've never let that actually stop you or hold you back. So, share with us one of your best tips for people to be able to navigate through that, put it aside, and show up in their power.
Biggest one is ask yourself, does this really help anybody? For me to, I woke up this morning anxious at 4:30 in the morning. Woke up super anxious, worried about something, da 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 da, starts negative spiraling. But I know it's not that won't happen to me. It's that how do I deal with it when it happens? And because I've taken the time to listen to things like this show, I've armed myself with these great tools. So I'm going to give you my best tool that I even did this morning. Is anxiety serving me right now? And the reason I ask that is because sometimes it can. What am I anxious about? This and this, things you didn't get to yet. You're behind on it because of blah, blah, blah. That now just becomes my checklist. Oh, thank you, brain. You're trying to remind me of some to do lists. Let me just write them down. Are you still anxious? No, you remembered them. Oh, all right, great, cool. Or if you are still anxious, is this anxiety serving me to motivate me to do it because I'm nervous something bad will happen? Or is this knocking me out of the game? If it's knocking me out of the game and just paralyzing me or making me want to just watch Netflix all day or escape, whatever form of escape you get, if it's not serving me, I need to drop it because that doesn't even freaking make sense, Brittany. It doesn't make sense. So drop it, move forward, pick a different emotion, pick excitement, pick focus, pick energy, pick love, pick your why, whatever those things are. So that's super helpful for me. I'm also very into dummy proofing, remembering what matters. So I have a tattoo inside my lip that says no fear. I was always a very afraid child. I think I've always been prone to anxiety. I've tried big things in my life. So I don't know if it's just an anxiety thing or I just do really big things and therefore I'm scared because I've never done them before. Doesn't matter. Does fear serve me in this exact moment? No. So I don't think I've ever really been brave. I think I've been courageous. And I'm sure somebody's going to put this on like a tombstone of me is one of my best quotes. And that's do it with diarrhea. And what that means is even if you're freaking terrified, do it anyway because it matters. And that's why your work has to matter. Because if it doesn't, I really can't tell you why you should do it. I really can't. If it does not roll up into taking you somewhere you want to go or affecting the change you want to see, then it really doesn't probably matter for you. So you need to get in alignment with that stuff. Now, do we all get to live this fun Instagram life where we're just serving people and helping and nobody ever has to pay for it? No, there's going to be sucky, boring, lame, stressful, annoying parts of every single thing you got to do, like we said. But it's still, when you go through the less fun parts, it's worth it. It matters.
Absolutely. You serve in so many powerful ways and you share your wisdom with so many audiences. You're dropping golden nugget after golden nugget, truth bomb after truth bomb here. So let's talk about some of the other ways that you really share your wisdom because I don't know anyone that walks in a more aligned purpose than you. So you have a podcast called Broke to Woke. You have an entire army of entrepreneurs called G Force.
Mhm.
You live and breathe these incredible summits where you bring together people, whether that's the healing the heroes or whether they're your Elevate summits. There is, you are just a non-stop service machine. So let's talk about some of those. You are in season 3 of Broke to Woke right now. So that has been going incredibly well. And I absolutely, it is golden nugget after golden nugget. So powerful. So everyone go and tune in to Broke to Woke. Make sure you rate it as well. Leave a 5-star review.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a podcast I do with a guy named Jeremy Newsom. I made my way. We're both one of 6 kids, and I made my way into building wealth through real estate, and he built his through stocks. And so we go through our parallel journeys of growing up in the southern states of South Carolina and Georgia, and how we went personally from broke to the way we describe woke is awake to your purpose, really not drifting, really awake to your calling and going for that. And so the whole journey is everything from growing up with this broke mindset to the shifting points and imparting really what it took to create super scalable wealth. And our goal was to share some of the things that we believed as well as the obstacles we gave into that slowed us down so that you can go even faster. And I think there's been, I don't even know how many millionaires have been made since listening to the podcast, but it's been amazing reviews and we're pretty vulnerable in it. I'll honestly tell you, I'm sitting in this recording studio talking to him, and I always feel like it's just me talking to him. So we really share a lot of stuff in that podcast. But the goal is to, again, help good human beings with the pure, beautiful, awesome, compassionate hearts of the world have the resources it takes to scale your impact. That's my thing. I used to build my businesses very head down. I'll just give an example similar to Elon Musk, where my business is my vehicle to change the world. I'm focused. You can't like interact or come learn from me. I never shared any of what we were doing. And then I actually got convicted one day that because the wiring system of my companies is a give system, not a greed system, we've really figured out a different approach to business that's super successful. We do turn tens of millions of dollars in these businesses every year by doing good and truly creating value. And how do you do that with a pure heart and manage the hard times? All those things, like that's what we share. And so I got convicted to start empowering the people similar to who are listening to this call, exactly who's listening to this call, to realize your freaking power. Stop playing small. Go get the education, the resources, the mindset, the tools to be able to help more people because it's the funnest thing in the world, too. It really is. It's the best. If you want to overcome depression, go help somebody. So that's where real joy, I believe, stems from. And it doesn't change your worth. You're just as valuable of a human being if you do nothing, but it's what makes life fulfilling. And you're always going to have this huge hole in your heart if you're not doing your calling. So that's broke to woke. What I found is it's an amazing experience. Most humans develop the skills and the practice and the focus to be successful in one area of their life or more. And so, because business requires strategy, planning, action, training, people can get really focused on businesses and growing them because of the demand in order to even make it. We don't have that exact clarity of demand on our relationships or our health and understanding how to even hear having a guidance system for life. And the island itself is based on a specific ethos that we don't even market this, but the point of the island is to help wake people up to their purpose. Now, you can have a beautiful vacation here, but we're still going to serve you the most healthy, delicious food you've ever had. And then magically, you're going to be awakened to the fact that healthy food doesn't have to suck. And it might encourage you that you can feel that good all the time if you just shift a couple of your decisions. Oh, it happens to be sustainably sourced. What does that even mean? I'm not into bashing anybody upside the head on you should change at all. The real, authentic, true change happens when you are inspired to do loved and safe enough to be able to run out of one shell and go into the next level of your shell because somebody or something is holding space. It's not judgment, it's not any of that. So the island inspires growth naturally with the way we've connected it to nature, with our programming, with our activities, with the food, with the Redemption Ranch, all those things like really wake people up to seeing what's possible for themselves and feeling comfortable to start taking those next steps. So that's just coming here, period. But then we have those Elevate Summits as immersive experiences that people who say, I have never taken the time to get clarity on my life. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I don't know my purpose. Let's dream. Dream is 5 days of gaining that clarity. You will not walk away from this place and not know your purpose. You won't. We've never had it happen, and I won't let it happen. So, not just, I've got a picture of my purpose, like you have a freaking plan. So you can start implementing it immediately. So that's dream. And then abundance is now that we've got clarity, let's fund that purpose. Let's be free of working for money and let money work for us. How do we do that? Why has it not happened yet? Let's get rid of what's been holding us back and step into this new level of abundance. And let's have a powerful why for that abundance. Next is strength. Okay, I've got my vision clear. I've got my money in line. I've only got this vehicle though. I'm stuck in this body. How do I make sure my body can take me to places, be the parent, do the missions, be the leader, whatever your life goal is. How do I have the body that fits this long-term vision of my life? And then presence is our most different one because there's a couple days of it that is a silent retreat. And the whole point is for you to know how to be still enough to gain the not only gratitude for life, but the ability to hear the guidance for really from the being that calls itself love. God only defined himself as love. It's the only way he's ever defined himself. And if love is guiding you, you're going to avoid so many more problems and obstacles that you're not even meant to face. Because if God is for you, who can be against you? If he defines himself as a loving father, like, what does that really look like? It's not them trying to trip you up. So, how can you be still enough to be guided to know how to navigate this life and to have life more abundantly? So, that one's really deep and super powerful. And then the last one we have is love. And it's really if you have the best body in the world or you have the most money in the world, but you're alone or you don't have good relationships, then you'll find that why are we even here? What are we doing? We are wired for love. But you can never have a pure and healthy connection to any other person, your significant other, your kids, your coworkers, your friends. It's always going to be a form of using someone if you don't love yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. And you'll always be looking for somebody else to fill your cup. But love is not something you even go looking for with this need when it's where you come from.
Yes, yes. Now, you are a master at creating immersive experiences. So, tell us a little bit more about where the island's located or how someone could participate in any of these incredible Elevate summits.
So, the private island called Buck Island in the British Virgin Islands is my island. And that's where we host these immersive experiences. And what do we mean by immersive? It means it's a place you can change and change authentically and quickly because every single thing is curated to optimize growth in that area. So people really come and transform their lives in the specific areas that they're hungry to learn and grow in here. And they can do that because the food is elevating. It gives you clarity of mind, it gives you clarity of body. The activities all really hit home on what we just learned about. And you're getting outside your comfort zone, you're connecting to nature. We've got the ranch, which does equine therapy and allows you to connect to animals. So it's everything from the food environment, the floor plans, the finishes, the staff, every part of it is meant to elevate you. And we have 5 Elevate Summits a year. And those are led by me. People are allowed to book the island and they can host their own retreats here. It really is becoming a mecca for the most impactful retreats on the planet. And so it's so fun to be able to curate that experience because I don't know if it's ever been done before on a private island. And so the to even have people come here and write like articles about it, they're like really hard to write this because it's so hard to understand unless you've been here. But I guess this is the future of luxury is that purpose elements intertwine, that sustainability, that giving element too. You could book the whole island for your own retreat or your own family get together, or you can come to a retreat. The website is the arielbvi.com and Ariel is spelled like big picture Ariel.
Amazing. So your island is in the BVI and it's this incredible gathering spot where people can elevate and reconnect. And so I absolutely love that you are facilitating this environment, that you created such a magical place and are facilitating this kind of connection and community and elevation. So, Broke to Woke can be listened to across all of the platforms, Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio, and all of the other channels where you would normally listen to podcasts. And then, of course, the Ariel, they can find out more about any of the Elevate summits and more about the island on the website at the Ariel BVI. So let's talk a little bit about G-Force, because you talked earlier, you mentioned about really creating this army, right? This army of people who do good. And while a lot of people may just talk about, oh, wouldn't that be nice to have? You've actually created it. Tell us about it.
G-Force was really, again, part of that conviction on you figured out how to run a purpose led business with a giving wiring system, not a greed system, and you've been able to be profitable. How do you teach others how to do that? And that's really what it is. So G-Force stands for Force for Good Entrepreneurs, and it's a group of people that are sharing information constantly on how to do it even better. How do you scale your business to be any more powerful force for good? How do you integrate the thing that you're passionate about into the wiring system of your business? How do you inspire your employees? How do you learn new streams of income from making money through your social media to developing courses that are really helpful for people to stocks and crypto and real estate? So it's really to stabilize the forces for good in the world so they don't get knocked out of the game, so that the good that's in their heart to do can, instead of again, never happen, but be scaled. But I am writing a book. I am writing a book, which is available for, or it's ready to go. It's on pre-order right now. You can buy it or sign up for it on my Instagram. Will be coming out shortly. I'm super excited. But it's going to be the summary of the best, not only mindset, but exercises and development practices you can put into your own life for gaining this clarity, implementing it into your life plan, and really walking your purpose. So it's called Force for Good.
That is going to be such an impactful book. And that is really going to be the playbook that people need to step into their purpose and live as a force for good. Now, is G Force open to anyone, or do you have to have a business at a certain level?
Depending on where you are with your desire to start a business, most people do have a business, but we do interview you, make sure you're a good fit, make sure you know what it is and what it is not, because I'm not into taking people's money unless it's actually valuable to you and you are going to also contribute to the group.
So, where can people apply or find out more about G Force?
gforcemastermind.com. Of course, if you're on Instagram, all these links are on my link tree as well. One
And
step.
so, where can people find you on Instagram?
At Britnie Turner, which is spelled weird because my mom thought she invented the name Brittany. It is Britnie Turner.
Britnie Turner. Everyone run out and connect with Britnie for sure. Now, Britnie, you have done amazing things in your life. You play quite big, as you mentioned earlier. So you have really surrounded yourself very intentionally with the best of the best, with the innovators, with the change makers. What's the best advice that anyone has given you?
Only listen to people you want to be like and in that specific area. So if I had amazing business tips, but terrible relationship advice, don't listen to my relationship advice. Don't discount the whole person because they're not perfect and they don't have everything together. That'd be ridiculous. You'd be discounting everybody. But find somebody who is already where you want to go in a specific area of life and learn from them how they got there. I was just sharing this week with the guys. Also, whatever you've overcome, you've gone through the fire of something in life. You know the path. So it's your job to reach back and help pull somebody else through the fire faster or tell them what you did to get out of the fire faster. Same thing with areas you want to grow in is what was the path to get you from here to there or to do what you're doing. Now, I never take exact advice most of the time. I always hear it, learn it, and then put my vision and my values spin on it. But I do like understanding, again, the path and the architecture of their decision making.
So valuable to only listen to people who have done the thing that you want to do in that area, right?
Just
So,
only listen to people you want to be like.
yes,
And also pick out really like build a bear. You get to build your life.
yes. So intentional. So intentional. I love it. Now, you have been a trailblazer. So there are a lot of things that you had to learn the hard way because you were the first to take that path. So, what's one thing that you wish someone would have told you that you had to find out the hard way?
I think I just wish I had told myself that I didn't have to be so afraid on the journey. I wish I had been having more joy on the journey because I was trying to risk mitigate so much and I just was afraid. Even though I did it, I just was so afraid. And all the things that I would spend so much time worrying about, which robbed me of that moment. I wish I had just believed I'm not a quitter. You're always gonna figure it out. You can ask the right questions. God is with you, He's for you. Believe that the universe is kind versus everything's out to get you. Just that's really the foundational thing because when you believe those things, then the approach to all the obstacles is different. The approach to the things you did or did not do. And then really to understand that when you do face obstacles, they're for your expansion. Again, it's not like God's up there doing something bad to you to make you do something. But when you do face obstacles and you don't get lost in them, you don't become a victim, you don't lose yourself, you don't quit, then you can see that normally, if given enough time, it turns out to be something good. So I stopped labeling things as bad or problems happening to me. And I realized it's all working for me. And that has really shifted my joy in the last couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. Life happens for us, right? Remembering that it's all part of the journey. And so I love the sentiments that you are sharing. I think they are applicable to everyone. And these are things that each of us can implement, that each of us can remember, and that each of us can incorporate into our own lives to help us navigate with greater ease along the journey. So
Absolutely.
you've been through it and you run into areas with the most vulnerable. You run into the areas with some of the most suffering when people are at oftentimes at their lowest. And you serve so powerfully. How do you continue to find the beauty and the joy and the
Mhm.
love and the hope and the light, even in the darkest of situations?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I'm an empath, which means I can feel everything, which means I feel people's pain, which is really hard to do when you're around like mass suffering too. People just lost everything, or you're with people who lost children, and there's no good reason. You can't tell them why, or this is going to end up great. You can't say that to them. So, the only thing that allows me to keep doing it, because I've had a couple instances where I watched an infant die in front of me in Haiti, for example, and it had been partially crushed by a building falling on it from the earthquake. And that was last year. And to watch innocence like that and nobody care that was around because there wasn't enough medical attention, there wasn't this, there was like just there were so many people hurting so bad and there was not enough resources and there was no pain medicine and there's just we were using cardboard to tape up broken bones. That night, after seeing probably 20 things, but watching the baby die and nobody caring, I really had I call it a throwdown with God to say, "How dare you say you're good?" And the best I have been able to process some of the hard things I've seen is to not do nothing. I nobody really knows why we're all exactly here, but I do believe that life is a test of the heart. And based on what you were given and what you saw, what did you do about it? And I'm committed to not burying my head in the sand and to getting frustrated enough to get outside my comfort zone, be willing to get outside my comfort zone to create the inventions that say, how do we make a new product that makes sure buildings never fall on babies again? How do I ignite that fire in an entrepreneur to tell them to get to Haiti and distribute that product and find a way to make it affordable? And how do I start connecting people to this and to that to start orchestrating more good, knowing I may or may not ever get credit for it? And so asking those kind of powerful questions again really make you figure out what you value in life. But best way to overcome going into dark places and processing it is to not turn away and do nothing. Optimize your life and figure this out.
Yeah. Take action, do something, be part of the solution, you know? So,
Really, exactly that.
yeah, so important. So, being in these environments and seeing the things that you have seen and navigated the things that you've navigated can take a toll. And self care is absolutely critical. What are some of your ways that you refill your cup so that you can continue to serve at the level that you do?
My husband just started using the phrase beauty bathing, which is hilarious to hear from a Green Beret. But beauty bathing, what does that mean? That means to wash your mind with the lovely things of the world. What is the lovely things? Like I listen to a ton of podcasts like this. I listen to a ton of like motivational YouTube videos. Does it sound cheesy to say that out loud? I don't give a crap. It's working for me. What's working for me is to create a positive mindset and to find the good. It doesn't take a high level consciousness person to be able to point out everything negative in the room. That's to me what I have brainwashed myself to say, when you're doing that, Bernie, that is peasant thinking. That's peasant thinking. No, you've got to find the good no matter what. Find the good, find the good. And now I notice the good because I'm trained to find the good. So I spent a lot of time instead of watching dumb stuff and escaping, being really intentional with my feed, being really intentional with really anything I'm feeding myself. And my mind first, and then my body. I like to say I used to eat like an idiot. I just put whatever I felt like eating in my mouth. And now it's like, why would you do that? Why would you think you can put terrible fuel in and get good result? That just doesn't make sense. I'm super practical, like I said. So I eat really good, which that has created a different kind of life stamina for me as a leader, as somebody who can think clearly. I don't know. I might have one glass of red wine every 4 months kind of thing. And I always regret it too. I don't know why, but I don't drink. And when I do, I'm so much farther down. You start noticing the results when you're not continually doing it. So I'm optimizing my health as much as I can without being obsessive about it. I just have a nice balance with that. Optimizing my health. I don't have any negative people in my world close enough for me to actually hear them. I am constantly washing my own mind in new, good, uplifting stuff. And I don't pretend like the world is perfect, but I want to see the good. So that's why I do those things. So I can respond even better, even more loving in those environments. Again, you can't, anybody can go out and be a hero for a week. That just like we do our trainings, we have aerial recovery trainings for people who want to volunteer with us. If you don't eat right, you can't help anybody else. Same thing with the gas mask people. Put your mask on first, because if you run out of oxygen, you're not really helpful. You're actually creating a problem. So Jeremy just said too, he said it's not self-centered to, it's not selfish. Yeah, it's not self-centered to be centered. That's what he said. And I thought that was so good because the more centered and fit you are in all areas, the more you can be a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you definitely have a lot of ways that you're able to fill your cup. And I know that you are a woman of great faith and that you really lean into living in your divine purpose. Talk to us a little bit about maintaining that connection and that clarity. And you mentioned earlier about sometimes having that moment with God where you're like, what the heck? What is going on here? So, how do you stay aligned and centered in your faith with all that happens in the world?
I think that's a really good question. I'm very big into definitions and not just going with what I was told to, just in life, or just labeling somebody, for example, as a friend when they are not a friend. Well, what do you quantify as a friend? I don't know. Somebody I know. No, friend is someone who empowers you to be everything you can be and kicks your butt when you want to quit because they know that you matter and you need to walk in your power. That's a friend. So, same thing I would do with that. I do with love. I do with, is this person saying they love me, but they're doing these things? Then it must not equal love. Good to have clarity. So, with God, I had to start with, because I had a lot of really jacked up people in my life come in the name of God or say they're a Christian or try to weaponize the Bible. And we're just doing real talk today. I had to know God on my own, or else humans would have ruined God for me. That would have been over a long time ago because I'm not interested in this weird junk that has been shoved my way most of my life. And it's just really interesting because a relationship with God matters so much to me. That's typically been an interesting weapon used against me in my life, and knowing that it worked, dang it, many times. So, what does God define himself as? Is love. What's the true definition of love? Love is patient, love is kind, love. There's amazing definitions out there. And then I really asked myself too, love is not the silent treatment. Love is not controlling. Love is not, it's good to know what things are and what they are not so you can define it. So when I want to take the time to pray and actually hear quote unquote God's voice or guidance, then the kind of things that are like coming to me as you start to learn that voice in your life, that guidance system is, if it comes out and says, Brittany, you suck. You're never going to figure this out. You're the worst. That's not what love would say. And so it's really good to be able to even know the kinds of things God would say to you versus the kinds of things God would not say. What would a loving father want for his daughter? What would, so it's just been, I think, important to identify the kinds of things he wouldn't say if you're going to start going down the journey of journaling and listening and being present enough to feel that peace in your heart and your life. Some people meditate, some people pray, they're in the same exact field. Um, But it's been such an important part of my life because I couldn't have made some of the decisions I made, like deciding to get into real estate at the worst time in the history of mankind and not quitting on it. But when it turned around, I looked like a freaking genius because everybody else just getting started. And I was so ahead in all my systems and the land I was able to buy and what I was set up with, that when things did shift, I was pre-positioned for good. I was pre-positioned with resources. Same thing for this island, dang it. I don't want to even say it, but I was pre-positioned here even before the hurricane to be able to help the people in this community, which made me build trust with them, which made them allow me to be a blessing versus shunning because there must be some ulterior motive. No, I showed my heart in the good times and the bad. And so I've been pre-positioned in even wanting to open this before the our grand opening date originally was April 1st, 2020.
Oh,
It's just the worst time. The borders closed here for 9 freaking months, and that's the worst time in the history of resorts to be trying to launch a resort. So it's outside your control. It's a global pandemic. Nobody alive right now has really seen multiple pandemics, and so it's just, but when I experience those things based on the track record and the faith and the trust that's been developed with this guide who does want good things for me, then I say, what else do I get to figure out in order to make this thing work? And I would have never done retreats had it not been for COVID. I would have never started G Force. I wouldn't be, aerial recovery wouldn't be where it is. I wouldn't be probably with my husband at the, you got to look for those good things, those blessings. And that can come when you do believe that God is for you. And it's your journey, a fun journey to get to figure out how to navigate through these murky waters. And you're not alone. The same force that guides the stars and the moon is the voice, same force that guides you. That's good.
yes, yes, yes. Amen. Amen. So earlier, you talked about the power of writing your eulogy and of having the clarity for the end of your life. And as we start to wind down here, let's take you to the end of yours. You've lived the best life. That eulogy that you wrote with such clarity has come to fruition. What are they saying about you?
Oh, I could read it. I have it handy.
Right, if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I update it every year because it is it's important because you gain new levels of clarity every single year. It's important. Let me pull it up. Mm, all right. Brittany helped build the bridge connecting the gap between the rich and the poor. She distilled down the secrets of the most successful in all areas and created tools, programs, and education that raised up entire nations. She eliminated poverty and human trafficking at its root, resulting in 13 countries becoming first world countries. She wrote books that shifted how business is done, changing success to be measured from a give system, not a greed system. Known for her presence and ability to pull you back into your power, she guided the most influential people in the world into their light. She walked in divine loving grace and emanated a peace that made the demons shake. Her teachings, communities, and wealth empowered people and programs that eliminated the worst issues on the planet. Over 10,000 people were rescued from sex trafficking because of her and her husband's work, and millions were spared or rebuilt because of their work. Brittany became an icon of what is possible for women on the planet. She brought Ariel Buck Island to life, and in 2021, it began its work of bringing people into their light. Brittany lived as a vessel for God's kingdom on earth. Her and her husband laughed every day, sang every day, and lived in love every day of their life. The world has never seen a more aligned, empowering, and loving marriage. Their children followed in their footsteps as little bad A's that continued their great work. And Brittany has reset the standard of what is possible for young people and women, the meaning of strength, and the future for how business is even done. Brittany will be missed in the physical, but will live on in the hearts of all who have been touched by her.
And so it is.
Thank you.
And so it is. So, how can people best get in contact with you? Let's recap some of the ways that they can connect with you, learn about the island, become part of G Force, find Broke to Woke, get into proximity with you and any of your incredible companies. How can people become part of your world?
Great question. My Instagram is at Britnie Turner, and my website is BritnieTurner.com. All of those resources will be on both of those. And I look forward to connecting with anybody on this call that's resonating with this, that wants more out of their life, that wants purpose. My motivating factor is when you walk in your purpose, there's less suffering. And that's super important to me because I've seen suffering at levels I can't unsee, and I'm choosing to do something about it. So if you're resonating with this, if there's a way that we can help you and serve you or share with you what we've learned, please connect.
So, as we sign off here today, parting words you'd like to share with the audience?
Just want to challenge you all to ask yourself, how can I be a force for good in the world? And then go do that.
Go do that. Be a force for good. Absolutely. Britnie, thank you so much for spending this time with us here today. Thank you for really being the true embodiment of a servant leader, for shining your light into the world, for inspiring millions to step into their purpose, for shining a light in the darkness, in the darkest places in the world.
Mm.
Thank you for activating an army of light showers to journey alongside you, to bring their light, their missions, their heart of service into these areas as well. Thank you for doing all that you do to alleviate suffering, to create opportunity, to expand opportunity, to ignite dreams, to ignite possibility, and to truly ignite change.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Keep doing this. This is going to be amazing for everybody. I already listened to it. It already has been amazing. You're amazing.
Likewise. Till next time.